In the hot summer of 1903, a powerful woman known as Mother Jones set out on a grueling 125-mile trek with a group of exhausted but determined children. This was no ordinary trip. It was a march against the cruel injustices of child labor aimed squarely at the vacation home of President Theodore Roosevelt. Born Mary Harris, Mother Jones became a giant in the struggle for labor rights by transforming a deeply painful personal tragedy into a relentless fight against oppressive labor practices. Her fearless leadership not only exposed the harsh realities of industrial exploitation, but also pushed for reform on a national scale. Her story is a vivid reminder of how one person's courage can inspire many, questioning us, how far have we come, and what battles remain in the pursuit of labor justice?
Labor laws in America have changed drastically from when the country was formed. Nowadays, miners have limits on the amount of hours they can work, where they can work, etc. Miners are prohibited from working power-driven balers and compactors, power-driven saws and other cutting machines, as well as working in the manufacturing and mining. Work involving power-driven food slicers, grinders, choppers, and mixers loading and unloading goods to and from tracks or conveyors. So says the Department of Labor. This was not always the case.
For many years, unsafe working conditions ran rampant through America, affecting people of all ages, including children as young as 6 years old. Mining conditions were dangerous and unsafe, with workers being forced to work for excessively long hours. Children were put to work from young ages to help support their families and were often given the most dangerous jobs simply because they were better suited due to their size.
How did we get from these extremely unsafe working conditions to the states of labor laws today? Mother Jones was a key player in making all this possible. She was an activist who worked tirelessly to make sure that workers of all ages were able to be safe while working.
Mary Harris Jones was born on May 1st, 1830, supposedly. Her actual birth year is unknown, as according to work records, she should have been born in 1838 or 1839. She was born in Cork, Ireland, while her father immigrated to America in 1835, sending for his family as soon as he was able. She attended public school before going to a teacher's college in Toronto.
She married George Jones in 1861 and had 4 children with him. George was a blacksmith and organizer for the Iron Modelers Union in Memphis, and Mother Jones got her start as an activist working with the union.
Her husband and children died of yellow fever in 1867. After they died and were buried, she helped nurse the remaining victims before moving to Chicago and opening a dressmaking shop. She worked as a dressmaker for 4 years. Mother Jones was always concerned about her appearance, which was always extremely ladylike.
In 1871, tragedy struck again, and Mother Jones lost everything in the Great Chicago Fire. She was burned out, lost her possessions and store, and all she had was the clothes on her back. After this happened, she never tried to accumulate possession or make a home for herself again. She said, "I reset whatever there is a good fight against the wrong."
Mother Jones died November 30th, 1930, when she would have been around 100 years old. She spent her entire life working, advocating, and fighting for labor rights all around America. Despite the often difficult conditions under which she operated, her appearance was impeccably maintained, a testament to her determination and charisma as a labor organizer. Her upbringing in Ireland and her arrival in North America as an immigrant played a foundational role in shaping her views and her tireless advocacy for workers' rights. Mother Jones's radicalism was deeply intertwined with her personal experiences of loss and hardship. After losing her family to yellow fever and her fortune to the Great Chicago Fire, she devoted her life to the labor movement, becoming an iconic figure for her ability to organize workers in a way that terrified industrialists, and she became known as the most dangerous woman in America. She worked in many areas of activism, including advocacy for miners and workers, child labor, involvement in major labor disputes, and opposition to child labor exploitation.
Mother Jones got her start with activism after she married her husband, George Jones, who was a blacksmith and an organizer for the Iron Molders Union in Memphis. She traveled with him and did what she called missionary work, where she tried to convince iron workers to join the union, despite threats of firing, blacklisting, and cries of traitor.
After she was burned out of Chicago, she joined the Knights of Labor, as she knew some of the members due to her involvement with the Iron Molders Union. When attending Knights of Labor meetings, 3 things happened. She learned about socialism and the historical treatment of worker, her aptitude for public speaking and debating, and she met her lifelong friend, Terence Powderly, who was a leader of the Knights.
While Mother Jones was very active regarding mining rights, she was also drawn heavily to child labor rights. In 1903, Mother Jones traveled to Kensington, Pennsylvania to assist with the textile strike and discovered that 10,000 out of 75,000 strikers were children. Mother Jones questioned newspapers about why they were not publishing facts about child labor, and the newspaper said that mill owners had stuck in the newspapers and were not able to publish the information.
So, Mother Jones decided to take the publicity into her own hands and organize the March of the Mill Children. She asked the parents if she could borrow their children for a time, and then organized a march that stretched from Kensington, Pennsylvania to Oyster Bay, New York, where President Theodore Roosevelt was vacationing. She thought it would be beneficial if the president could see the children and compare them to his own. The march included about 100 children, some of whom had visible injuries from their work in the textile mills. They were missing fingers and limbs, or had stunted or hunched backs. Marchers carried signs that read, "We want to play," and "We want to go to school." Banners with slogans such as these starkly emphasized the deprivations of their childhood. As the march progressed, the number of participants grew and the media attention increased, showing the public the harsh realities of child labor.
Mother Jones set up stops for rallies and speeches in minor cities along the road to New York, including Philadelphia and Trenton. She spoke passionately about the injustice of child labor, drawing large crowds and generating significant media coverage. These stops also allowed the children to rest, as many were accustomed to traveling such long distance. At this meeting, she would introduce children to the crowds to connect with them and elicit sympathy. In Philadelphia, there was James Ashworth, was a child who earned $3 a week for carrying bundles of yarns that weighed 75 pounds. His sister was 14 and earned $6 a week, and they both worked 10 hours a day in a carpet factory. In New York, she introduced Eddie Dunphy, who was 12 years old, who sat all day on a stool handing the cracked thread to other workers for 11 hours a day and $3 a week.
The New York Times covered every day of the march. Farmers brought food for them, and trainmen would give them rides. In New Jersey, Grover Cleveland let them his barn to sleep in. Mother Jones wanted a federal law prohibiting the exploitation of children and enforcement of the child labor laws that were already on the books. This march gained massive amounts of publicity for the cause, and within a year, Pennsylvania passed a law to keep children out of factories until they were 14. The march was not successful in meeting President Roosevelt, nor did it immediately lead to new legislation. However, it greatly influenced public opinion and increased support for child labor reform. The children's dramatic visuals and stories moved many to advocate for reforms that laid the groundwork for future labor laws, including the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938, which ultimately placed stricter limits on the age of employment.
The coal mine wars. Mother Jones was also very involved in miners' rights, and one of the key events that she participated in and facilitated was the coal mine wars. The strike began when the operators of Painted Creek and Cabin Creek coal miners refused to renew their contracts with the union, and interest imposed harsher working conditions. The miners, who were members of the United Mine Workers of America, demanded higher pay, the right to organize, and the better safety and working conditions. The coal companies responded by bringing in Detective Baldwin Fields, who were known for their brutal tactics, including evictions and armed intimidation.
Mother Jones arrived in West Virginia in June of 1912 to support the striking miners. She immediately played a central role in organizing and encouraging miners and their families to stand up to the coal operators. Her fiery speeches and tireless advocacy helped sustain the strike and gained national attention.
Can you hear me back there? I want you to be able to repeat everything I say to you dirty, filthy, cheating, lying bosses. For those of you just showed up to see what was going on, you don't know who I am. I'm Mary Harris Jones, but I'm called a lot of other names. Bolshevik, socialist, most dangerous woman in America, walking wrath of God, and Mother Jones. But I'm used to the slander from the politicians and the press. Well, I'm here to tell you what's the God's truth. It doesn't matter what race, creed, or political banner you stand under. We're all laborers, and we've got to stand together. If we don't, there's no hope for any of us. You've got to start using your brains, folks. You've got to start using your brain. The times are changing. Times are changing. The minds of man are changing in this country, around the world. All of this unrest, the miners upset. Why are they upset? What's the real cause? Why would they go out on strike for months on end? Why would they do it? Why would they do it? There's a new change to the mind. The politicians don't know about it because they don't have brains like ours. We're like the fella up in the lookout tower, and he can see the smoke from a long ways off, and he knows there's a wildfire coming. It's going to sweep across the county, across the state, across the United States, and around the world. And nothing's going to stop it. The Russians can't stop it. The Chinese can't stop it. Deportations can't stop it. We've got to stand together. That's our only hope, to organize and stand together. It's not the different races and religions that's causing all the trouble. No, it's those politicians and the press with their poison pens, writing poison, poisoning your minds. But you yourselves, You're men of honor, respectable, decent, hard-working, and you've let them come in and rob you blind, and you never said a damn word about it. You let them rob you. Oh, they smile at you and say, what a lovely job you're doing. But they're robbing you blind. They're coming in, taking your money and hiring armed guards to keep you in subjection. And what do you do about it? This is a great nation, and you've turned it over to the dollar thieves. You've turned it to the dollar thieves, and now your children have to fight your battles for you. Now's the time for the laborers to stand together in solidarity. The press is sowing poison with their poison pens, but we're sowing harmony with our solidarity. We've got to stand together. I want you to carry to your grave honor, dignity, and respect to your fellow man, for your fellow laborers, those that have God-given differences. Respect them. We can stand together and fight for fair wages, equality, and justice. Are you ready for fair wages? Yeah. Are you ready for equality? Yeah. Are you ready for justice? Yeah. Then rise up, laborers. Rise up and show the world what the workers can do.
The conflict escalated significantly during the strike. The coal operators set up armed fortifications, and the governor eventually imposed martial law. In February of 1913, Mother Jones was arrested during a particularly violent phase of the strike. Despite her advanced age, as she was about 76 years old at the time, she remained a dynamic leader. While in prison, she wrote letters to supporters and secretly sent messages encouraging the miners to continue their resistance.
Mother Jones was put on trial and was charged with conspiracy to murder, among other things. The trial was a major event. She was the contempt of court and used her appearance as a platform to publicize the miners' cause. Although she faced a court martial, the national outcry over her imprisonment and the brutal conditions of the strike exerted pressure on the national authorities. The result of the strike were mixed. The miners won some concessions, such as
Arbitration
of their grievances and the abolition of the company store system, but they did not achieve all the objectives. The strike had a broader impact. However, it raised national awareness of the harsh conditions in coal mines and increased union members in the West Virginia coal mines.
Mother Jones' involvement in the Paint Creek and Cabin Creek strikes cemented her position as an active advocate for miners and their rights and marked an important chapter in the history of American labor relations. Her ability to inspire and mobilize workers left a lasting impact on the labor movement. Mother Jones was arrested several times during her career, most notably for her involvement in major strikes and protests. Her arrests were usually for inciting a riot or in defying an injunction to suppress a labor disturbance. Her willingness to face jail time demonstrates her dedication to her cause and her ability to endure hardship for the sake of workers' rights.
During her trial and incarceration, Mother Jones often used the courts as a stage for advocating labor rights. She was outspoken in her opposition to what she saw as a corrupt and biased legal system that favored industrialists over workers. She used her court appearance to publicize labor struggles and criticize the unfairness of the judicial process.
One of her most famous incarcerations occurred during the Paint Creek Cabin Creek strike in West Virginia in 1912 and 1913, which was a particularly bitter and protracted labor dispute. Mother Jones was detained by the military and held in deplorable conditions. Her incarceration under military guard underscores the extent to which industrialists and sympathetic officials will do anything to suppress union activity.
Even behind the bars, Mother Jones was able to influence and inspire her fellow citizens and supporters. She wrote letters, communicated with the supporters, planned future events, and never let incarceration deter her from her mission. The key to Mother Jones' life was found in her identification with the miners. Within the miners, she saw the human cost of America's progress. Mother Jones gave strict descriptions of the miners and told the experience of crawling through the darkness with only a bit of lamplight. Told of families that lived in shacks and understood the isolation of miners' life. Mining was painful, bitter, lonely, and often seemed hopeless. Joining unions became a death warrant in many mining towns, while in others it was a source of strength.
One instance of the source of strength was a strike at the Dripmuth mine in Arnott, Pennsylvania in 1900. This strike had been going on for 5 months and had made no headway. Substitute workers, called scabs, had been brought in to keep the mines working, and many miners were losing hope, as strikes were a waiting game and the companies were better able to outweight the workers.
Mother Jones told the demoralized men to stay home with the children for a change and let the women attend to the scabs. She organized the miners' wives into an army and armed them with tin wash tubs, mops, brooms, and pails of water. She knew that she would be arrested if seen as the head of the troops, so she appointed an Irish woman to lead the army instead. The Irish woman led the army up to the entrance of the mine and guarded the entrance to the mines, so the company could not bring scabs into work. This march of miners' wives turned the strikes around. The men resolved to not go back to work and stay out until they gained some of their demands.
The strike at Arnott was won, but many were not. Mother Jones used to say, "No strike has ever been won that didn't have the support of the women." This saying has been neglected by labor historians, even though it rang true. Men did not stay out on strike when their wives were pushing them back to work.
Miners' wives contribute to labor strikes in several important ways. They provided financial support. During strikes, they often took on extra work or managed household resources extremely tightly to sustain their families in the absence of paycheck. They helped organize and led protests. Miners' wives organized and led protests and picket lines, and even acted as a spokespersons for striking workers, arguing with mine owners and the media. They also provided spiritual and emotional support, in addition to financial and logistical support. These women provided virtual, emotional, and spiritual encouragement, often convincing their communities to continue shrinking under heavy pressure to return to work.
Mother Jones's ability to work with the miners' wives was one of the reasons for her extraordinary success. She understood the totality of the miners' lives. She had a good rapport with the women, and she understood their children. There was nothing delicate about miners' wives. Most had spent their own childhood working in the silk mills. They married too young and had too many children too young and aged before their time.
Mother Jones' lifelong activism centered around the struggle of miners and child laborers. Through events such as the Mill Children March, her efforts played a key role in bringing national attention to the harsh realities of child labor. She was an orator and strategist who used her skills to increase the effectiveness of strike and protests, resulting in better wages and working conditions for thousands of laborers.
The life of Mother Jones is a testament to the power and resilience and the impact that a determined individual can have on the course of history. Her unwavering commitment to the cause of labor rights not only improved the lives of countless workers during her time, but also left an enduring legacy that continues to inspire activists around the world. In an era where workers' rights were often ignored, Mother Jones served as a beacon of hope and a catalyst for change, embodying her own famous motto: "Pray for the dead, fight for the living." Her story is not only a chapter in labor history, but also a reminder of the ongoing struggle for justice and human dignity.